Dale Hogg was a trailblazer and a pace setter in Tulsa in a number of ways.
He's always been a leader. He's always been a pioneer.
He was the first African American you could see on Tulsa newscasts.
Who really broke the color barrier, again, was Dale Hogg.
He did the first story in Tulsa journalism that had been done on the Tulsa race riots since the Tulsa race riots.
I would say very few people know those three very, very important areas that Dale brought to our community. I think very few.
It was at the, I believe, the 14th annual Urban League dinner, in which I was to give a presentation and remarks. After the dinner, there was an individual who approached myself by the name of George Stevens. He introduced himself and his wife, and he said, "You should be on television." And of course, I accepted that as a compliment, but really thought nothing about it.
I think that he offered two or three things that we as a station, as a news department, really wanted. One is he was very intelligent, he was very articulate.
A few days later, I received a call at the office, and lo and behold, it was George Stevens. He asked if I remembered him and said that he was impressed with the presentation and would like very much to talk with myself about a possibility of working at KOTV.
We were interested in a broad presentation to the community. We wanted to represent the community as it was, and Dale helped us to do that.
Well, I set the appointment, but I had no idea what I was going to do. I went to the board chairman, Max Brady, and I asked, what should I do? I mean, I'm working at the Urban League. This seems to be an opportunity, but what do you think? He said, "Are you nuts? You have to do this." He said, "This will break all sorts of barriers if this were to materialize."
The thing that was interesting to me in retrospect about someone like Dale coming in is not that he was black. It was that he was interested in doing news.
Lo and behold, I believe it was May of 1970 that I began giving the early morning news for KOTV.
And he had some realization about what that would entail in terms of his responsibility to try to tell the community what the important things were about the community so that we could all make better decisions about how to make our community better. And he was sure on board with that.
When Dale came on TV on Channel 6, he created a very positive image for the black community because of his charisma, his voice, and also, quite frankly, his looks.
I think what I remember most about Dale was the first time he arrived, and I noticed how impeccably dressed he was. He was always neat and very smart and articulate.
He was interesting, and it made you very proud to see an African-American male that was prominent in television and in the community.
Every night he would be there in the studio on Channel 6 doing a story.
And as a result of seeing Dale on TV and seeing him as a newscaster and also as a weather person, created a different image for the city, especially in the early 1970s.
I honestly believe that doors were opened because of that exposure.
And I just remember he was so natural. He was very good at what he did. And what I really specifically remember was his mustache and his afro, or his natural. So he was allowed to be fully himself, and he was just a natural on-air talent.
A natural newsman. To me, he was very natural, and Clayton was very good at hiring people by gut, and he was usually right about that. But Dale was one of those that was probably one of the greatest hires he ever made.